Welcome to another episode of Honoring Their Service. I'm Bob Riggio, and with me is Summer Lassiter, one of the veterans that calls the Black Hills area home, and this gives us an opportunity at News Center 1 to recognize these veterans for their commitment to the service of our country.
So I was born in Rosebud, South Dakota, but I've lived all over the country. My father was in law enforcement, so close to half of our 50 states I think we've lived.
Really?
Yeah, about every year or two we moved somewhere new.
And you come from a military family pretty much.
Yes. My father was in the Air Force and my grandfather was in the Marines.
And at what time did you decide, well, the military is going to be for me, at least for a short period of time?
You know, it was kind of, honestly, a spur of the moment thing. I just graduated high school. I was kind of unsure what I was wanting to do. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
What year was it when you joined?
1996. I was 88 Mike. I was a motor transport operator. So basically, any land vehicle that the Army had, I was able to drive. 18-wheelers, big deuce-and-a-half trucks, basically any land vehicle they had. So a lot of what I did was transporting equipment, troops, back and forth from place to place. If they were doing training out in the field or stuff like that, I would just drive the trucks that had all the equipment or the troops loaded up.
And you had to have special training for this?
Yes, yeah.
You had to know how to back up one of these big
military. Yes, I earned my military CDL while I was in there, yes.
So when you got out, you could be I don't want to say just a truck driver, but you could have been a truck driver.
Basically, yeah. I did my basic training and my AIT training both at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, or Fort Lost in the Woods, Missouri, as we called it.
Is that right? And how long was that?
It was 8 weeks.
And how long did it take you to learn how to back that big 18-wheeler up?
You know, that was probably one of the hardest parts of the training, honestly, I will say, but it didn't take too long.
And how many years do you have to go through?
16.
And where were you stationed after your basic training?
Fort Carson, Colorado.
Did you have some
mechanical
training as well?
Yes, absolutely. We're in charge of inspecting our units before we took off to wherever we were going, and if something went wrong, we had to kind of troubleshoot and look ourselves. If it was something a little more serious, obviously I didn't get into great detail with that, but we were pretty well trained to take care of, maintain our vehicles. So my most memorable experiences honestly would have been going through my AIT training and stuff. I actually didn't make the greatest first impression on my captain there. We were doing a class on your weapon, your M16 rifle. They were showing us how to take them apart, what each piece was, how to clean it. And thanks to my oh so wonderful at the time brother-in-law, who told me before I went in that we were going to have to take them apart and put them back together blindfolded in under a minute.
And that actually happened.
So that's what I trained to do before I went into training. He was a police officer, so they carried AR-14s if needed, and they're fairly similar. So he had me practice, and we're in the class, and the captain happened to walk through, and they just had the barrel guards off the guns, and I had my rifle laid out, every piece. Yeah, he came up and he said, "Oh, you're a little advanced for this class, aren't you?" And I kind of was like, well, I mean, I know my way around the rifle. And he said, "Well, why is that?" And I explained to him, and he said, "Oh, that's interesting. You know, I happen to have a handkerchief. Let's see you do this."
And he blindfolded you?
Yes, he did. And he had somebody grab a stopwatch, and
really? So
he called me to the front of the class and...
In front of everybody?
Yes.
Put you right on the spot,
yes,
put you under the spotlight.
Yes, he did. So... And I went up there and he said, "On your mark." And so I started taking it apart and I put it back together. I pulled my blindfold off and he said, "Well, you definitely have under a minute." He said, "But let's see if it fires." And so I handed my rifle over to him and he said, "Get back to your seat." So he was not too happy that I guess I kind of embarrassed him, but my drill sergeant said, "Just so you know, he's probably going to give you a hard time for the next few weeks." So yeah, he made it a little miserable for me for a while. But after that, I think we were okay because I used to run in the group with him. I was very athletic. So, honestly, it's a wonderful experience. If I could give anybody advice, it would be to go ahead and enlist, serve, even if it's just a couple years. It's great to teach people integrity, respect, love for the country, what our military men and women go through, to have that respect for them and appreciation for the sacrifices that are made.